Hello everybody and welcome to episode 36 of The Spawn Point. It's been a long road getting from there to here. It's been a long time, but Steve Barnett is finally here.
I'm back after 3 months.
He is back. Ebbie's not dead, I'm not dead, Steve's not dead, and neither is Matt. But as always,
saving the best for last, I hope.
We are joined by Ebbie and Matt as well, and welcome to the show everybody. It's good to have you all back. Well, don't say hi, but today we're going to talk about a couple of topics. The first one's related to a report that the ESA recently put out. And then we go on to the Ready Money round, where we'll be talking about peripherals and gaming. But first, we need to have a word from our sponsors, and also a competition that's going on. Matt, would you like to tell us about the competition?
Yep, so there's a competition for 5 Minecraft servers that we're giving away. Each one holds up to 24 players. You get 1 gigabyte of space, each one. You can only win one per, it's only one per winner, so you can't win all 5. It runs from the 15th of April to the 25th of May, so you've got like 5 weeks to enter, or about almost 4 weeks now. There's up to 9 ways to enter, and the more ways that you enter, the higher chances of winning. I do want to point out as well that to avoid some confusion, you can't do some of the actions listed and just do them not on the giveaway page. If you just, for example, if you follow us on Twitter and you don't do it through the page, then it won't enter you as an entrant to possibly win one. So you have to go to vectorgaming.co.uk/giveaway, or just go to the homepage and click on the giveaway tab, or go to our Facebook and click on the giveaway tab. So there's 3 different ways you can find that. And yeah, so that's our giveaway. So I wouldn't worry about the, discount for now, because it's, might as well enter to win a free one for now.
You've got to be in it to win it.
Yeah.
Like the lottery.
So moving swiftly on. How important are graphics in video games? I think that is the main question of today. And apparently, according to the ESA and the survey that they did, graphics are not among the top reasons people buy video games. In fact, if we go from the top, 22% are because of an interesting story or premise, 15% are price, 11% word of mouth, 10% the product is a continuation of a favorite game series, 8% the product is familiar, and then graphics are at 7%. And interestingly, product reviews are all the way down at 3%. Now, this actually does include mobile gaming, I believe. So, take that as it may. So some people obviously play mobile games, but everyone's seen the stats. And what are your views on them? Is there anything that you've seen there that surprises you?
Can I say one thing that worries me in those stats? Is that 4% of people will buy a game based on the look of the packaging, out of all things. It's like, oh, that's a cool case. Yeah, look, that looks nice. Oh, it doesn't matter what the game's like, or what people are saying about it, or, the details about it. Oh, based purely on the look of the packaging. Like, the fact that more people, I don't think graphics is the most important thing, but I think that, in terms of how good they look, but I think that the fact that's 7% of people will buy it from that, but 4% of people will, buy it based on the look of packaging. That's a very small difference. So just as many people will buy it for that reason. It's a bit worrying. I think out of everything, some of the things like product reviews is below that. Reputation of the publishers below that as well, but those things are way more important than packaging.
Interestingly, advertising is only 1% of everything, which
I think that's a load of rubbish.
Why do you think that's a load of rubbish? What the advertising is, or the fact that it's 1%?
No. It's 1%. Like, it's 1%. So what you're saying is that, like, for instance, Call of Duty. I'm talking about that again. But how would Call of Duty be as popular as it is if it had to be advertised? So it's got to be more than 1%.
Well, no, hang on. Let's talk about Call of Duty for a second. 1% advertising. I can understand that with Call of Duty. Simply because it goes in the 10%. Product is a continuation of the favourite game series of people.
Yeah, so people aren't going to base
I mean, all they need to do is just say, "Hey, a new Call of Duty is coming out," and people are just like.
But have a look at when you think about it. What are most games that are advertised? The ones that are continuation of series, and people mostly buying games they recognise, like the next sequel or whatever. So if most of the games are sequels that are being advertised, the big AAA games, then advertising isn't going to be a big chunk, because the only people that are going to see advertising are the small amount of ones that are advertised that are new IPs, that are new series, So so it does kind of make sense in that respect. But
I guess so.
I don't know about that, because I sort of see big events like E3 as advertising, but in disguise, in a way. And I feel like a lot of hype gets generated around events like E3 or whatever. Because I never would have wanted to play things like Watch Dogs if it wasn't for the fact that E3 did such a good job of showing them off and whatever. But I don't know if that would count as advertising, but...
Maybe advertising's so low because Nintendo are dicks about their YouTube policies.
Hey, we're not getting into this.
Okay, so that's all of the stats. And also, something that surprises me, but if we're going with mobile games as well, it's saying 44% of all gamers are actually female. And I was quite surprised that it was that high a percentage. But hey, what we're really here to talk about, though, is how much the graphics factor in when you're deciding you're going to buy a game. You go out there, you've seen your cool packaging, unless you're buying on Steam when there isn't any packaging.
Said, look at the nice case on it, I'm going to buy the game.
And you've seen some of the game, and it's like, oh my god, these graphics are amazing. How much does that actually sway you to buy a game? Who wants to start? Eddie, go on.
All right. I don't think it affects newer purchases as much as older games, maybe. I say this because I was talking with my friends about Final Fantasy over the past weekend, and I have no interest in playing Final Fantasy VII, purely because I don't think it looks very good. So I feel like maybe when it comes to older games and being that whole generation gap between certain franchise titles or whatever, I feel like there is a very clear difference in graphics for me personally, and a lot of that, the older graphics, especially like old FMVs and stuff, is very, very off-putting to me. But I don't know, I feel like we've reached this sort of threshold with graphics that's just, everyone always hits that, and I'm fine with that. Like that baseline, if you get what I'm saying.
I've seen this thing where people, well, if you look at, for instance, Half-Life 2, which came out in 2004, and you look at look at the graphics of that, because that's kind of quite a good staple point for where graphics are at that sort of time frame, and that's when it started having like proper facial animations and stuff like that, I believe. Mm-hmm. But if you look at that, and then you look at 10 years ahead, 2014. I know we're in 2050 now, but just take a 10-year jump. They haven't actually improved dramatically from, okay, maybe some people might think they have jumped massively, but not compared to, like 90s. In the 90s, if you go 1994 to 2004, there's a big jump there. But I think, like Ebbie's saying, when you get further down where we are now, it's not as noticeable when we've reached that baseline. There's certain things like lighting and stuff that I think have changed, but
let's take that. You're saying that obviously back then games look rubbish, and Final Fantasy VII has not aged well at all. But if we take, for instance, all of the indie scene at the moment, one of the games I played a hell of a lot is FTL. And when you look at the graphics of that has not got amazing graphics. They're fairly basic. They're quite nice in the way it's formed, but it's nothing compared to something like the new Tomb Raider game, for example.
I think with indie games, it's just a thing of having a budget, and they can't afford to do big, grand things like the new Tomb Raider games. So instead, they'll go with this simplistic style that ends up not looking fantastic, but it ends up aging well as well.
I don't think the graphics are the point where I'll make my decision on X game is coming out. Am I going to buy that game based purely on how good the graphics are, is that going to be my main selling point? Probably not for me. Like, I kind of see graphics, like good, when we say graphics, like good looking graphics, ones that are realistic. I see that as an added bonus, really, more than anything else. I don't see it as a core component. I see it as like, that's quite cool. Not only is it fun games, because the main thing I've focused on, I'd say, is the fun factor of games. It's like, okay, a game could look really pretty. A game could be 20 hours long or 200 hours long. But am I actually enjoying myself when I'm playing it? Am I having fun? That's what video games are for. They're to have fun at the end of the day. And so when I look at a game, whether I look at, this kind of falls back to like, product reviews being so low, is that I kind of tend to make up my own mind, as to whether I'm going to buy a game based on other stuff. I don't watch a review really and go, oh, well, they think it's great, so I'm going to go buy it. Like, I might watch a review to find out a bit more, but I won't make my decision off of that. I'll probably...
Well, I'm going to stop you there, Matt.
Yeah.
We're going to go into that in a minute. Steve, we haven't heard much from you for this, so go for it. You have the floor.
Okay, are we talking about design of graphics?
Graphics.
Right.
So yeah, how much does it factor into you actually wanting to buy a game?
If I saw a game that had zero or no graphics in it at all, it wouldn't incline me to buy it at all, because I go for games that have got high intense graphics that you can.
Although you say that, but I could list like, how much have you played Minecraft?
True. Yeah, true. But
I don't think that you necessarily do buy games for graphics, because. Yeah, okay, for example,
Steve, your opinion is
your opinion is wrong about yourself. No, but like, okay, Ori and the Blind Forest, for example, if that game didn't look as good as it does, would you still have bought it for everything else that it's got?
That would fall more into the storyline, though.
So that's not graphics. So then it's not.
Yeah, but
because you're saying that is like a defining factor. Like, if the game's not looking,
it's one of the factors that make me buy a game. All right, fair enough. If a game didn't have nearly zero graphics, but it had a good storyline, I would, more than 80% buy it.
The thing is, imagine if there's a game that looks really, like, realistic, looks amazing, looks, everything looks almost real, but then there's no content to fill that with, then you're not gonna really...
No.
Okay, we have a point from our studio audience, our live studio audience.
Yeah!
Go on.
Can I do it?
As long as go on.
Okay. Hi. So I'm a flight simulator, and I'd say that the graphics is really a simulation thing. Graphics reached like an optimum a while ago, and it's now about playability, it's about absorbability, and things like that. The only people who really care about graphics these days are simulators, hardcore simulators. And I'm a simulation enthusiast.
Okay. I guess that does make sense, though, because if it's going to be something that's meant to be simulating something and representing it, then you need it to be as much like the real thing as possible. But with a lot of these things, like when you play Call of Duty or you play Battlefield or some sort of shooter game, you're not simulating that because you're planning to do practice when you go out and actually shoot people, or at least we'd hope you don't,
Don't go out and shoot people, guys.
Yeah, we're hoping that's not, you don't treat that as a shooting simulator that you can go, oh yeah, I'm just, I need it to be real for one of my real practice.
Okay, so now we can go on to your point. So what are the main reasons that you go out and buy games? What draws you to a game?
If it looks fun.
But a bit. But like, I guess this is my time that I can sort of add on to about what I was talking about, product reviews.
Okay.
Is it? Because that's a reason as to why I wouldn't.
That is a reason.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say, for example, if someone said, some journalist in like IGN, I'm not like targeting IGN, but like say IGN say,
best game ever, 10 out of 10.
If they say, oh, this game has too much water, 7.8 out of 10, which is a real thing. Or for a remake, saying it gets minus points because it's a remake.
Because it's a remake.
But that's its intended thing. Anyway, that's beside the point. But sometimes people will say really negative things about a game, and I think you're talking a load of crap, to be honest. Because based on everything else I've seen, I think it looks good, and so I sort of try and form my own opinions from like, basically the gameplay. Like when I watch footage, I'm looking at what is the gameplay. Does it look like it's fun to play? Does it look like it's got I would say the main reasons are, for me, gameplay, like, is it addictive? Is it fun? Replayability, is this something I'm going to get my money's worth and I want to keep playing it? And, I'd say the other thing really is, just, I don't know, it all just falls
It's
under...
obviously very poignant if it's taking you that long to think
No,
about
but it's
it.
just all falls under gameplay, I think. The fun, the replayability. I think everything, you can't have a good game unless the content is there for you to enjoy, because, you have to have something to do, and if a game just looks good, or if a game has nice sound effects, or a game has this, then it's nothing without the core component, which I think is the gameplay. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles recently, and I haven't played that. I never played that when it was on the Wii.
It's on the Wii.
And to be honest, the graphics aren't that good.
No, they aren't at
but
all.
it was recommended to me by Ebbie. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go out and get it, seeing as I need some games on my 3DS, and I've been really enjoying it so far. And it is one of these sort of, I feel like I'm getting my money's worth, because it is such an expansive game. It doesn't look the best anymore, but I've been enjoying it.
I don't think it, on the flip side of that, I don't think it looks terrible either. I've seen games that look worse on the 3DS.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I say, how important is, just a counter question to this, or just an add-on question,
Sure.
how important is the story? What we're saying, the most popular reason on here was the story or the premise of the game, which is like the setting or...
See, I don't believe stuff like that when Call of Duty and games like that are so popular. I don't believe that people are interested in the story of big franchises like that anymore.
Can I just say, I saw a funny list of, I was watching a video about the top 10 most overused enemies in games, and on a comment, it had the setting so a lot of them were Nazis, zombies, terrorists, and so someone pointed out, it was Call of Duty 4, terrorists, Call of Duty 5, Nazi zombies and terrorists, so combining them, and it's the next one, zombies, terrorists, and and it just kind of repeats itself.
Zombie terrorists. They haven't had that yet.
Oh, yeah. But it's just it's always, it's a lot with the first person shooters about, oh, you've got to stop this terrorist organization. It's now, because I've seen that so much, I'm a bit yawn.
Yeah, I mean, I think with something like Call of Duty, it does go into the continuation of the genre sort of category. However, I feel like a premise of a game, or if something's going to potentially have a decent story, I would be more willing to look into it and pick up a game that I was less likely to otherwise. Mm-hmm. I'm going to jump back to FTL again, and the one of the main reasons that I got that is because it was like a space sim where you could captain your own ship and just can micromanage all of the different sections of it, add more stuff, and I thought that was an awesome premise, and it was really cheap as well. Price, there you go. How many times have you been in a Steam sale and gone, oh my god, this game's only £1, let's buy it, even though you're never going to play it?
Oh, I've got plenty of those games.
Yep.
I think my Steam library is full of that. So Steve, come on. Let's chuck your 2 pence into the ring.
Okay, well, I basically just, it's probably bad to say, but I just piggyback off Matt, really. If a game comes up and Matt says, oh, I've got to bought this game, I will have to be like,
Can I just say that this is very true about the third most popular reason, which is word of mouth, which me and Steve have talked about things with word of mouth before, not just with games, but about how if somebody who works for a company who works for the company that's providing it for you, tells you, oh, this is amazing, then you're going to think, oh, of course they're going to say it's amazing because, they work for the company. They want you to buy the game because they get money for it. But when your friend tells you a game's great, they've got no reason to tell you it's bad or good. They're going to tell you an honest opinion because they don't benefit for you, you buying a bad game, they're not going to prosper. So your friends telling you about games actually goes longer way than a developer telling you about a game, because what developer in their right mind is going to say, don't buy my game, it's crap? They're not going to say. They're going to say it's amazing regardless. So Yeah, with Steve, like I'll say, like I was talking about Ori and the Blind Forest, he bought that. Talked about City Skylines, he bought that. So it's like word of mouth of your friends. When your friends tell you, "Oh, this game's really good,"
And
they kind of
talking about Mario Kart, you bought a Wii U, so
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I feel like we peer pressured you into getting a Wii U and Mario
Well,
Kart.
that's the thing. It's like Andy and Ebbie were playing Super Smash. They were playing Mario
Look how
Kart.
much fun we're having.
And they were
guys.
and then Andy was
Matt.
rubbing it in my face by sharing his screen, playing the game, and I was just sat there like, oh, cool, yeah, you guys having fun, I feel left out, and I think that's a big part, feeling left out and what your friends are doing.
Our live studio audience, as mentioned, Candy Crush Saga is obviously one of the really popular games, yet personally I think it's a pile of steaming dog shit.
It's a mobile game though. Like most mobile games are like that.
Like
Bust.
Game of War,
I
which has
literally can't go to anywhere in the world without hearing that ding ding dong dong ding. So yeah, I mean that's just a perfect example of it's not always about graphics. It's about playability.
Wouldn't really say it's playability.
Well, it's you know, people.
the
It's all
gameplay
over
is.
Facebook. It's you know, people are always inviting you to it. It's very addictive.
Can I just say on that point, if you're one of those people on Facebook that invites me to your games,
you should die.
so-and-so,
You should die.
then I'm
You really
gonna-
should die.
Maybe-
I don't
maybe-
have Candy Crush, but
I get so-and-so wants to invite you to Mafia Wars, and I'm just like, piss off. I don't.
Oh god, yeah, Mafia Wars used to be a thing.
But whereas when I was younger and it was like Metal Gear Solid, wow, look how good this is. The guy gets in a box. Can you really imagine that? Look at that. We're on screen. The guy's in a box and he's walking around. I've never seen anything
And what does
like that on
what does
my
he do
PlayStation.
nowadays? How far is he-
Nowadays,
he still
Still
gets
gets
in
in a box.
Nowadays, it's more about, oh, everybody's playing Candy Crush Saga, and let's do Mafia Awards, and let's do this and that and the other. I think it's moved on for graphics. I think they reached the limit.
So, Matt, you're Matt, not live studio audience, Matt.
Yeah.
You're saying that, in your opinion, one of the most important things for buying games is word of mouth. So, is that what your last point was?
I'm not saying that's why I would buy a game. I'm saying I can
Even
understand.
though you did.
No, I was saying about for Steve. I was saying that's why when Steve was saying about word of mouth, I'm saying that I can understand why that is high up on the list. But me specifically, personally, I buy games just based on footage that I've seen. So I'll just buy it purely for the gameplay and what I've seen of that, and just for the fun factor. If I think I'm going to have fun with it, I'll buy it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I
Steve was more of the word of mouth. Was him. I was just.
I think one of the most important, well, maybe not one of the most important things, but one of the other factors that we haven't mentioned yet, which I'm actually quite surprised of, is people like YouTube playing it. I know we've had a look at some games, Matt, and we've had comments of saying, "Oh, thanks for showing me this game. I've gone out and bought it." So again, sort of word of mouth. Actually, the one good thing about watching a game on YouTube, I'm not saying like our ones, for example, but any other person playing it, is you can actually see firsthand, is the game any good? Are there any bugs in it? Is it a pile of crap? And
But then does that fall under advertising more than word of mouth? Because word of mouth,
it's a bit of both, really, isn't it?
I think the way that word of mouth is seen and the way that it should be interpreted for this is more telling your friends or like saying to them on like social media or when you see them in person, whereas advertising is more of what's out there for you to go and find. Like it's not, if you're actively searching for it, that's not somebody coming to you and telling you about it. You're going to find out about it. And that's kind of what advertising is in a sense, is that you go looking something up and you find it and then you see loads of stuff about it. And it's probably a mix between the two, but
It's a bit of a mix.
But Paul had Stephen Merchant in,
That did.
and
But
that was the
that's-
selling point.
It
itself.
could be.
It's
However,
like Stephen Merchant. He's funny.
however,
You know,
I think we need to go on to something else that's been about for a while. Peripherals for games have been about for a while. They've been about for years, and you know, I'm just going to name some classic ones. like the light gun for the NES, the Nintendo Power Glove, which was absolute garbage, N64 fishing controller, the rumble packs, the dance mat for DDR and all of those games, and then most recently we have moved on to stuff like guitars, amiibos, Tony Hawk's Shred. In 2010, had a skateboard that you could ride around on.
God, that game was so bad.
But it looks so cool. And the question is, have you guys ever bought any peripherals in the past? And if so, what were they?
Steve, have you ever bought anything like that? Any guitars from Guitar Hero? Any plastic pieces that go with you?
The only thing I really bought is years and years ago was his steering wheel for the PS2, but that was
I guess that still
ago.
falls under, isn't it?
Yeah.
The steering wheel. But you've never thought about buying one again, or any of the things they have now?
No, I don't think so. Really, not steering wheels or guitars. I'm not really into guitar. I mean, I like watching videos on YouTube of Guitar Hero and see how good people can do, but I wouldn't be able to, buy. I wouldn't buy a guitar or something like that. Or on the Wii U, you get the step pad and all that you step on or whatever it is. The Wii Fit.
The Wii
sorry.
Balance.
Wii Fit,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That ain't my kind of thing, to be honest. So no, I haven't really. But I bought the. It was like Sega Rally, and you could buy the steering wheel. So that's a long time ago.
I feel like peripherals for things like Rock Band and Guitar Hero are good for when you have people over, rather than for just playing by yourself. So if you have like a lot of people coming over all the time, I feel like they're probably quite good for that. I may have bought into amiibos though,
But I mean, we'll go into that. We'll go into that in a second, because amiibos are actually quite a good topic. I feel.
No, they're not. They're just life destroying.
It's a horrible topic, but it's something good to talk about. But have you actually bought any yourself? Like any?
What? Proper
Any,
peripherals.
Proper peripherals. Obviously, amiibos. You've got a load.
Obviously, amiibos. I've had the Mario dance mat, the Mario DDR
Mario dance mat. I did not know that.
Yep, one of the songs in the game was "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." Not joking.
Did it have a Starman? Just flying
No.
about? Oh.
Missed out an opportunity there. I had the Wii Balance board and I had a Guitar Hero controller for the Wii at one point. That's pretty much it. Apart from all the stuff. For like the NES, the NES Zapper,
Yeah, the light
Duck
gun.
Hunt, yeah.
Which doesn't
I
work
probably
in
had some-
one-day TVs, apparently. You need
Yeah, it doesn't.
CRT
You need a CRT TV. Yeah.
You'd be okay if you went to the Britannia Hotel. Wink. That wasn't
That
all.
advertising, though.
Just mind your head, though.
Should be naming and shaming them.
Matt.
Yeah, so I used to buy quite a few peripherals when I was younger. I'd say like in my teenage years, when I was like early teens. So I actually had, I think the last like proper peripheral I bought was when, when they had like Guitar Hero and they had the band and you could buy like the set of like the drums as well.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because like I wasn't really as much into the guitar factor of it. When they had their drums, I was like, oh cool, like I can, rather, be lazy and not actually learn how to play the drums and just get that and then play on there. And
I would
You might as
love
well-
to. I'd love to smash the crap out of those things. Just to make it a bit of a tune.
but the only thing about them was they were very kind of flimsy sort of design, and it like you had to sort of screw them on. Sometimes they were the cymbals you'd hit them. If you hit them too hard, they would sort of move a bit. And
Weren't the cymbals and like the double pedals add-ons to the peripherals? Weren't they like?
Were they?
putting together was a nightmare because you had it all like separate, and you had to go, put this, and you had to like separately attach the cymbals, but they weren't sold separately.
Oh, okay.
But then Rock Band, I've never really played Rock Band games, or I might have done it like a convention or an event or something, but I never owned one. But their drum has like just 4 drums, I think. I don't think it has cymbals, but that was probably the last
Yeah, I
thing.
think it was just four pads, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And there was a foot pedal as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had that, the
So-
Guitar Hero band thing, and I had a steering wheel, like a Xbox 360 steering wheel, I think, that I just wanted to use. Other than that, I think and thankfully I never bought Tony Hawk, the skateboard thing.
Oh,
Why? Why not? God.
I don't. Well, I've only owned the Wii U for about, I don't know, 20 days or something, but I haven't got any amiibos. I
want
think I'm not looking for any of the
Are
content.
you going to give away your amiibos? And we're going, Ebbie.
But
I should, because I have no room for them, because they're little things that take up this much room, because you get so many of them.
But yeah,
Bad.
it's just literally that steering wheel, and I've had some of the Guitar Hero stuff, and that's literally it for me.
I've had like going back in the day the light gun for Duck Hunt. That's really about it, apart from amiibos. But I guess the question is, does anyone really care about peripherals in games? Because, like, for example, the dance mat. Actually, my parents owned a Wii Fit board, which I used once and they used quite a lot. But do we care about peripherals? Because if you take the dance mat, although you can literally, if you've got enough space in your living room, you can dance in a dance mat. But I found it a lot more efficient. So you just use the controller because I can't dance for anything. And there's a lot more games that potentially you could use without peripherals, with the exception of some of the light gun stuff. But do you guys care about that? I think Steve's already said no.
No, I would for the steering wheel, because when I couldn't drive, I used to like to use the steering wheel because I would pretend I'd like to drive, pretend it was a real car. So that kind of thing for me. But dance mats and other things like that really wouldn't, tickle me.
Can I just point out also with that steering wheel, is there always like automatic? You never have any with gear shift. There's like a rare few for like PC, I think.
I had.
There's like a Logitech one that you can use on PC, and I think, but it has. Most of them don't have like a clutch and stuff. They're all automatic.
Yeah, I had all that. I had clutch, brake, accelerator, the gear stick. It only had 3 gears though. But I had all that.
Are you sure you didn't have the juicy air?
The what?
Right. Go on Google. Look up juicy air. JU-C air. The world's first penis peripheral. It's exactly how it sounds.
Wow.
Stick with my amiibos, thank you.
Yeah, not going to be buying one of those, especially second.
Oh my god!
Can I point?
Oh my god!
Oh wow. Okay, I'm not looking that up.
So let's go into amiibos then. Like, I've got a few amiibos, but I've literally only bought them for the fact that I really like the sort of figure. I haven't actually unpackaged them. They're just sort of
unpackaged all of mine.
You unpackaged Shulk as well?
Yeah, because I want to use him. That's the reason I bought him.
Can I just ask a question about somebody who doesn't have amiibos?
You will.
Are there certain characters that you can only access through having the amiibo and scanning it in? Like, is there any exclusivity, like in terms of?
No,
Okay.
not all, really. The Mario Party ones are used to unlock different Mario Party boards, which is more like classic Mario Party as opposed to new Mario Party, I guess. Which is really cool. That's quite nice. And there's like 6 characters and they each have like a separate board or whatever. With Smash Bros, you don't have to have them if you don't want to. With Hyrule Warriors, you get different weapons if you scan in like Link and I think Ganondorf coming up. You get different weapons in the game. And that's the only other sort of exclusivity that I can think of. Apart from costumes in Mario Kart from the Mii's.
Yeah, I don't think.
I think that's it.
There's Woolly Worlds. Yoshi's Woolly World's going to have them as well, but I'm not.
Yeah,
sure
I'm not exactly. It brings another Yoshi into the game, but I'm not sure what that does, and I don't think I'll find out until I actually play the game.
And how much do these amiibos cost?
Some of them are ridiculous, aren't they?
If you buy them at retail price, they're about £11.
Right. Okay.
But you'll never find them at that unless
But
you want
you'll struggle.
Peach, I think, or Peach.
The ones that you can definitely find at retail price are Peach, Pikachu, maybe Mario. I've not seen Mario in a while. Donkey Kong.
Rest. Good luck.
See, most of the people I seem to ask about, because I remember in the Nintendo Direct, I was like, can someone please just explain to me in a really simplified version of what amiibos are for? And most people told me that it was more just the actual, not what they can do, but more just the figure itself and it being a cool thing to sort of have and look at, rather than some of the added bonuses are just that, they're bonuses, but they're not really like the core reason why you buy it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that because I collect figures anyway, and if I wanted a figure of Shulk from Xenoblade Chronicles, the only way that I can get one is through an amiibo. Like, there are other options for a lot of other characters, but there are a lot of characters that have never had figures and people really want them, and an amiibo is the best they can get, basically. I feel like that's the reason that Moth sold out so quickly, was because Moth was this incredibly popular character that everybody loves for whatever reason, and he'd never had any merchandise in, so...
Anything I was tempted to buy, like, if there was ever, like, on Mario Kart, you get the black and white Yoshi, with, like, as white boots, white stomach, and then just... but you can't get that colour. I've seen some people paint them, and then do that, but I was like, that would, if they sold one like that, I would be quite tempted to get one of them, because I think that looks pretty cool.
So you don't want a yarn Yoshi?
I don't know. They seem
pretty
quite
good.
I've seen it.
Good.
They're quite chubby, aren't they? Like, they're quite short and stubby.
They're made of wool and they're great. Why do you not want them? I bought into the amiibos too hard, man. It's too late for me. Save yourself.
Yeah, I'm kind of there as well, but I'm not as far in as Ebbie is. The good thing about the yarn Yoshis are the green ones apparently won't sell out. We're going to make a lot of them.
Remember when Nintendo said we'll make more GameCube controller adapters for Smash Bros. And then never did?
Yeah, that's something I've been trying to get hold of for a while. That's never going to happen.
Do you think though that
that's another peripheral I've got technically, I guess.
Do you think they should ever have their exclusive, they have exclusivity? So peripheral, like an amiibo, for example. Or you've also got stuff like there's Skylanders, Disney Infinity, and the most recent ones like Lego Dimensions, which they all kind of have the same sort of thing of you put your character on this sort of stand thing or scan it in and it goes into the game. I don't know how it works for the Lego one, but...
I'm not 100% either, actually. What I assume, and what would be absolutely awesome, and I hope this is how they're going to take it forward, is they just adding sort of all this NFC technology into like individual Lego bricks. So you could just literally build something. So you'd have a physical model there, and you're just like, boop, in the game. That would be awesome.
Because the only different thing about the Lego Dimensions game is that you do actually have to put together the peripheral. And it's like a portal type thing, and then there's a stand at the front where you place your characters, because they're even going to have like characters, I think, from like Portal, and Doctor Who's going to be there, and there's going to be like Marvel and Back to the Future. Like, there's a poster that's really like blurred, but people have made out about 32 different characters, and some of them are from like they've got what's her name, Shell or something from Portal. Is that her name? And they've got they've got loads of different, so I can imagine I don't know if they're gonna just sell the individual Lego thing, it's on its own, but yeah, like you're saying, that'd be quite cool if you could build your own.
So no, I think that the only peripherals I can really see value to in these days really are figures, because it has the collectible value behind it as well, and also the Lego stuff. Like I'm saying, if you could do that, you could like buy your kids a load of Lego, and if they get bored of the game, or if they stop like having the game there, they've still got the physical Lego bricks that they can still make stuff with, which I think is cool. It takes it away from like the fact that, I've got an amiibo, awesome, yeah, let's put that on a shelf and never touch it again.
Value, yeah.
It could add extra value to it.
What about things like actually I want to know what Steve would think. If some of these things like Tony Hawk, they have the skateboarding thing, what do you think about these objects where, like on the Tony Hawk one, you have a skateboard that you actually stand on and you tilt and you can do tricks with it? Do you think that stuff's just like a waste of time and money, or do you think that they should keep doing stuff like that?
In my opinion, yeah, I think it's a waste of time and money, but other people might think differently and think, well, actually, no, I'd be tempted to go out and buy that. But that's just my opinion. I wouldn't buy something like that.
Do you know what I think those things are cool for? Or I say cool for the arcades. That's the type of thing that you'd see in an arcade, and I like using peripherals like that at an arcade. So if I were to find the old Silent Scope game with the massive sniper rifle, that is awesome to play in the arcade. But would I want that in my living room? Would I want to be holding that around trying to play the game? Probably not. So
That's why I think the Wii was kind of cool, was because whenever I'm at a place where the House of the Dead units are, with the big shotguns and stuff, I think that's really cool. I'll play it for a bit. And when I go home, I can play it on the Wii, and it's kind of similar in a lame way because of the way that...
Actually, on the topic of the Wii, the one thing I did like, I think on Twilight Princess, you could actually pull like the bow. You could actually like use the nunchuck controller to like pull back and shoot your arrows. I think you could do that. It wasn't
Might have been
exactly...
Skyward Sword?
Maybe. It wasn't very practical, but it was pretty cool.
It was cool,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, for a while, you're like, actually, no, it's actually more efficient and better to do it the regular way. But, like, what was that game that they have in arcades, the shooting one, that it used to say, like...
Crisis?
Yeah, and you used to go, continue. And then I remember people...
Time Crisis is
People
awesome.
People would always try and smack the yes to continue, even though they had no money, just in the hopes that it'd work. But they actually brought Time Crisis to the PS3, I believe, or something like that, or the PS2. It was actually on PS1. I actually, funny enough, I've just remembered another peripheral. I actually bought the Time Crisis gun for the PS1, and it had a cable, and it went into the PS1 controller slot, and it worked pretty well. But because at that time I was playing with such a small screen, like in the arcade, you have a massive screen, and there's like big speakers, and yeah. So I think arcades do it right, but
How often do you go to an arcade now, though?
never, never good.
I tell you, the only time I go to an arcade is if I go bowling, and afterwards. The other thing that I've really started to love in the arcades, and I think it's because of Kuroko, is the basketball machines.
Oh, really?
Because
You have to have a time limit, and it goes.
You got a time limit. He's got. But so what are we saying that we think? Is everyone collectively agreeing that we think it's a waste of money for peripherals unless it's in an arcade where it's money well spent?
I think
Unless it's an amiibo.
Or an amiibo.
I'd say if you're into figure collecting, then it has a purpose there. But if it's something, this is just my opinion, but if it's something forced like the Tony Hawk skateboard, or just other things where it's like, oh, you could, make it like you've got a Time Crisis gun and it's at home. It's like, I don't think so. I think just more for at home figure collecting, or potentially it could be good, like your idea about the Legos, and then arcade, everything else is sort of good for.
And I suppose.
Sorry.
Okay. No.
I was going to say, I think some of them are kind of cool. Like the Wii Balance Board, I think is a really cool idea. A lot of people use it and like it. But stuff like the Tony Hawk skate thing, just stop it. Stop forcing stuff into my game that I don't want.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Hawk's worked perfectly fine for all the years that it was out, and it's obviously coming out again. With just a controller, why make a board?
But can I also just say, I've just noticed that a lot of these peripherals and just the motion goes along with the motion controls. Lots of developers, they seem to not understand that most of the time they're trying to go, oh, let's get gamers up and standing and doing stuff. It's like the reason most people play games is because they don't want to do exercise and they want to sit down with a controller or a keyboard and just relax. They don't want to get up.
That's the whole thing behind the original Wii. Like everyone was like, oh yeah, we've got this console where you're up and you're active.
But that's why it appealed to a mass audience,
everyone realised they could do exactly the same thing just sitting on the sofa.
I agree with that. If you've just finished a hard day's work, you come home, you want to play your computer, you don't really want to be standing on a board or running around a room doing something, The whole point of it is so you can sit down and chill out.
But the reason, the Wii sold so well because it appealed to so many people that don't usually play games. Like if we're talking about people that usually play games very frequently, not just on a casual basis where they play 10 minutes every day or just an hour a week or something. Yeah,
but I think the Wii U, in my opinion, is based more around fan family entertainment rather than the PS4 is, it is kind of catered for people that, not family. Does that make sense?
No, but
Yeah.
but for the Wii, I'm not just saying family. I'm just saying it just appealed to just lots of people that wouldn't normally play games.
I think it was that idea of people going, "Oh, this games console or whatever can make me healthy."
And so then parents parents were like, "Oh, okay, maybe games are good because I'm actually being healthy from it." Or they buy it for the kids because they're like, "Oh, don't play that. We're sitting doing nothing. Play this Wii because you're active and stuff." And then
run around and throw a controller for your TV. Yeah.
Okay, so on that bombshell, I think we've had our time, and I think we're going to leave it.
Leave it out, yeah.
Leave it. So, everybody, thanks very much for joining, and until next week, we'll see you later. Goodbye.
Bye.